and he's acting like
you're saying he's
that he
sus.
says means it.
Fellas, ladies love astrology. Jordan Peterson's doing the astrology of psychology. I don't know, pretty feminine to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got him. Freaking got him.
Incredible.
Have you ever? Wait, okay. What do you have to say? If we're gonna talk about Jordan Peterson for a second, hold on. I'm trigger warning. Jordan Peterson.
Get spicy.
Jordan Peterson maps of meaning readout coming. Chad already knows what I'm about to show, but you don't. And
I don't. It's new to me.
It's gonna fucking blow your mind. This is an actual audiobook of Maps of Meaning. This is a very profoundly important part of Maps of Meaning. Let's take a look at what he has to
grandmother
say.
sitting by the bank of a swimming pool. I dreamed I saw my maternal grandmother sitting by the bank of a swimming pool, which was also a river. Her genital region was exposed dimly. It had the appearance of a thick mat of hair. She was stroking herself absent-mindedly. She walked over to me with a handful of pubic hair compacted into something resembling a large artist's paintbrush. She pushed this at my face. I raised my arm several times to deflect her hand. Finally, unwilling to hurt her or interfere with her any further, I let her have her way. She stroked my face with the brush gently and said, like a child, "Isn't it soft?"
Dude, I'm hard.
I looked at her
They put the song in the back.
face and said, "Yes, Grandma, soft."
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this guy, you told me this guy had a nervous breakdown? This guy lost his mind?
Crazy.
Hard to believe. I mean, like, it's fucking crazy that he... like this guy was ever going after like postmodern Marxism as being when this guy's crazier than Freud. Like he's from the 19th century with this shit. He's just describing a dream.
The last time women were actually free, before birth control made them think that they could be happier pursuing capitalist desires instead of staying at home.
Oh man,
that was he's right though.
A couple of years ago, I had the unfortune of finding out that we had the same agent. That my touring agent was also his touring agent.
Hell yeah!
And for a moment, I was like, "Man, he's doing some big fucking theaters. Maybe I can." And then I was like, "I got to leave my agent. I can't work with someone who's working with this guy. He's too fucking crazy."
Yeah, I mean that just means your agent is popping off. I would have stayed with him.
I mean,
this dude was like, this was like booking arenas, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, why would you elect to put that in your book? I don't know. And like, do you feel no sense of like guilt, shame, like being a fucking weirdo when you read it out loud for your audiobook?
Unbelievable. Yeah, to like not have a single moment where you step outside yourself and go, did he have an editor? Did anybody read this and go, Jordan, the story about the grandma with the pubic hair, was it?
Kind of weird.
What was your thought including that? I mean, maybe we don't need to include everything in. This also is the book of his that was like a catastrophic failure, right? Like it's like a 1,000-page book. He spent his life's work and it made no impact on anybody anywhere.
I think the funniest is like when like incels who think like he's their god will turn around and be like, he's actually an incredibly well published author. Like he's really good. And it's like, no, the only thing that like popped off in his career is when he basically carbon copied like every self-help book in existence to then tie it back to like an objectivist conservative worldview.
What's completely crazy is the kind of like bullshit that he does is the part of academia that right-wingers fucking hate and try to make fun of and destroy. Anything that is like somewhat literary or like, it's not even social science. It's just like social fucking blah blah, and that's what they're like ivory tower academics with their shitty theories. Like, how is this any different from Marxism or anything else?
Well, you don't understand
on an academic level. Like, it's why is anybody paying for this to happen? It's very hard to defend.
Well, you don't understand. It's because he's like telling stem cells that they should feel comfortable with their misogynistic attitude towards women because it's society's fault. He's like offering a lot of comfort in the same way that collectivists are offering comfort to you in your own personal failures by telling you you're a victim to the system. And he does that basically for incels, which is like, traditional masculinity is vilified, and like if we only went back to, if we did a return to tradition, then like you'd be able to get pussy finally.
Yeah, it's a very simple message that he cloaks in a lot of shit that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
A lot of like theory nonsense. But yeah, he's just telling people what they want to hear. And then occasionally freaking out and getting gout or whatever. Like, what the fuck is his
Well,
his health
he
problem?
does a meat-only diet because the real dragon of chaos is his daughter, Michaela Peterson, who, like, sucked him into the grift, like the meat-only grift, and then he got owned by Apple Cider one time. Like, he almost killed him.
Yeah.
That was pretty fire.
Yeah.
And then she actively tried to continue killing him when he got, like, addicted to benzos, and then, like, had to do, like, this experimental, like, cold turkey benzo therapy in Russia because they won't offer it in America because it can kill you.
I mean, he's lost his mind. I feel bad for my former agent because the guy was making a lot of money off of him, and now it's, hey Jordan, you want to go do a theater tour again? Too busy crying, too busy getting off pain pills. Like the guy lost it, unfortunately for him and for his audience, I suppose.
But we went off on like many different tangents here. But like we were talking about the baby formula thing, and I wanted to go back to that briefly. But the baby formula concept is like a perfect example of the public-private partnership that the government routinely engages in, where they outsource it to like shitty profit-seeking private mega corporations that then take advantage of that and engage in regulatory capture and ensure that there are no other competitors in the marketplace. But then like they also deregulate aggressively. And that's how we arrive at these sorts of problems. But if you ask the libertarians, it's actually, that's government regulations stopping the same companies from selling the same baby formula here in America is actually communism. That's what the government's doing. It's communism.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when the government is tricked, strong-armed into safeguarding a monopoly, that's what causes these problems. But it's caused by the companies trying to force that regime on us. Like, it's not... The problem is not that the government is involved. The problem is that the government isn't doing its fucking job and regulating these companies and making sure that there's adequate competition between them, making sure that the food is safe. And the same pattern that is, we see in baby formula is what they're trying to institute across other parts of business, like the meat industry, which we cover on the show. Has been consolidating at a hugely rapid rate. There's only a couple companies now that control the whole thing. And those companies are advocating for less regulation, for less inspectors. On the show, we go to a Cargill meat processing plant. We're the first like camera crew to get into one of those places in like decades. We go see how USDA inspectors like work on the line. They can stop the line at any point when they see, diseased meat go by. And then we find out that these companies and the USDA is putting in a pilot program to have less inspectors, to like allow the plants to self-inspect. So not only are they monopolists, they're monopolists that'll be less regulated now.
No, everyone knows it's so much better when the government, or not the government, sorry, when private corporations inspect themselves. I mean, like DuPont Chemical is a great example of what happens when that revolving door between the EPA and a chemical processor is basically like this, and those corporate lobbyists for DuPont then turn around and work at the EPA because they're the most knowledgeable.
Yeah,
and they get to dictate what chemicals are actually deadly.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Look,
nothing has ever, that's never turned out to be horrible.
We do a segment on the show about the National Weather Service. The National Weather Service produces like every weather forecast you ever look at. Comes from the National Weather Service. They have like hundreds of weather outposts across the country. No company could do what they do. Every other company, AccuWeather, the Weather Channel, they all rely on the government data. But the CEO of AccuWeather is this guy, Barry Myers, who's been trying to cut the legs out from under the National Weather Service for decades because he wants to have a monopoly on the display of weather information. He wants the government data to just come to him and go to nowhere else. And he tried to get himself appointed to be the head of NOAA, which is the parent agency of the National Weather Service, under Trump. And he was like, I know the most about weather because I'm the AccuWeather guy. He's the guy who's trying to destroy the National Weather Service. And so like that, he was not eventually appointed, but AccuWeather did and continues to have this campaign trying to like destroy the public utility that their entire business is based off of. It's fucking madness. That's what they'll do if you allow them to, and if you don't like have a clear-eyed look at it.
Okay, but you have no answer for this from Brian Cave. He says, we require 10% soy in baby formula. We're making literal soy boys. He's right. It's true. I mean, the fact that the fact that we use baby formula way more than other countries also is like, under the same operating principle where like, it's titty milk is free, but baby formula you can make money off of.
Well, look, there's a lot of people who are not able to nurse.
I'm not talking about that.
Yeah. Okay.
I obviously no. There's a necessity for baby formula for plenty of people who are not able to breastfeed because they're working.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, can be addressed through maternity leave. But what do I know? Or because they simply cannot. And it addresses that need certainly. But the amount, like the over reliance on baby formula in America, from what I understand, is also a consequence of doctors choosing to.
Both things
pump
are true,
that out
right?
instead.
Like breastfeeding was like disincentivized by our entire country for decades, and part of the reason was to sell more baby formula. That's true.
We famously
It's also
attacked
true
the
that
World
baby
Health
formula-
Organization as well when they came out with a statement about their preference for breastfeeding. And of course, America was against that, and they said they stopped that from getting pushed through.
I mean, it's like people couldn't have, and this is what I really try to do in my work, and it's crazy how hard it is. People can try to have a nuanced view of this, that like, yes, breastfeeding is great and we should make it more accessible. Baby formula is also one of the greatest medical advancements of the last 100 years. It saved countless babies' lives, and it should be cheap and accessible to everyone on every level and should not be dangerous. Both of those things are true at once. We don't need to be just for one or the other. We can like understand all of reality in our heads at one time. That's
But
what I
have
try
you
to
thought
get across
about
in my
lead
work.
making American babies stronger?
Lead making American babies stronger?
Like lead contamination in baby formula is actually making the American child to be stronger and like more aggressive, which we need, which is a masculine feature.
You mean more aggressive because their brains are fucked up, so they are like, ugh, that's what you're talking about?
No, that's like...
Being stupid does
want,
make you stronger.
You want American babies to be soy boys, whereas I want them to be violent, like all the time. It's super babies. It's like antibiotics, amazing, life-saving, but not everyone should be taking them all the time. Yeah. Babies these days just have microplastics. Lead babies were more robust. Yes, we should substitute microplastics back for lead. I think that's when America was truly popping off.
Incredible.
But yeah, all of these issues combined created the baby formula shortage, and yet I think the fundamental problem, the fundamental misunderstanding of like libertarians, ANCAPs, and like the way that they see the government is that like they can't comprehend the notion of a bourgeois government that is like working at the behest of capital owners, rather than they think that the government is a lifeless, faceless entity that operates under like communist ideology or something, and that's the reason why they engage in regulatory capture.
It's fucking armchair politics, It's like reading books by fucking, long dead German philosophers rather than actually going out and engaging with the real world.
They're not reading fucking like Hayek or some shit. No, they're just like, they're at a subreddit.
It's one of the things that pisses me off.
They watch lolly porn and then they become libertarians because that's like the quickest route to...
It's one of the things that pisses me off about internet politics is that people will like pick these positions and read websites and get into arguments on Reddit and never once go to a fucking neighborhood council meeting in their own town to like find out what the politics of their own place are. Like on the show, the whole 6th episode is about local politics, is about like how you actually make change in the government. And we're just pleading with people to like vote in a local election, but more importantly, go to a fucking meeting, like try to like do like the number of people who affect politics where you live is so small. There's probably like a dozen of them. And you could like just start showing up to city council meetings, yell at them. You could go to a meeting for your local political party. You go to a Sunrise Movement meeting and actually just like start working on shit, and none of those people will ever say I'm an ANCAP or whatever the fuck, because it's meaningless when you're actually doing real politics. Like, this stuff is like arguing about like Star Wars, whether you're like a Jedi or a Sith, you know, like it has nothing to do with real world politics.
Okay, but you're basically describing how the Republican Party operates at such an alarmingly effective rate when it comes to changing the outcome of like local elections and
by
like
getting
local
involved
initiatives.
locally, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And also jumping on misinformation trains. Like, one of the things I always have been fascinated by is like how quickly they'll capitalize on, for example, like QAnon, right? Like, when the early stages of QAnon, like you would have QAnon rallies, and then you'd have like a local representative show up who's like running for some random fucking local position, and she'd be like, yeah, QAnon is great. Like, she's at a QAnon rally and she's talking about school choice. So then they would connect one insane conspiracy theory to a tangible piece of like the Republican Party's legislative agenda that goes back to segregation, and segregating schools, which is the most effective way to like bring evangelicals out to vote for Republicans. Like, and they do a really good job of like trafficking their agenda into that is otherwise like very unfavorable and very unpopular agenda into things that have like genuine momentum, like QAnon, unfortunately.
And they show up to the meetings and they like push that shit through, and progressives and leftists like don't do it as much. And that's like sort of what our plea is, to like fucking take control of your city. Like, you've got the numbers, you can do it if you start going, and start participating in it. Like, can I plug something quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm supporting 2 local city council candidates, Eunices Hernandez and Hugo Soto Martinez. I think you've had Hugo on the show.
Yeah,
right?
I did.
And we're doing like a big rally comedy show for them. If you go to my Twitter, it's on there somewhere. It's in a week and a half. It's a comedy show. One of the dudes from Chapo is going to be on it.
Who, Felix?
Chris
Or Matt Christman.
Yeah. It's a little further down, I think. A little further down. There it is. Final big campaign event. Rally for LA. Terragram Ballroom. 7 p.m. If you go to that website, I just got to shout out bit.ly/rally for LA, a donation to them. These are both like DSA endorsed, like, running against the police unions. Like, Hugo is like a dude from Unite Here, incredibly important, hospitality union. Eunices like helped get Measure J passed in LA, which is like, criminal justice alternatives, right? Less money for cops, more money for other programs. And like, they're running for city council, incredibly important like positions here in LA. Like, donate $10 to them. It goes incredibly far, but also find, and so please do if you're watching, but also like go find a candidate like that in your town, or be that candidate. Cause these are just 2 people, right? Like Hugo literally was like probably, working for a fucking union, and now he's, God willing, going to be our next city council person in CD13.
Yeah.
So like that's real shit. And like arguing with people on Reddit about like which micro movement you're associated with is like not politics. Politics is showing up and doing this shit. That's just what I want to say to.
We're big fans of Hugo here, by the way. I've had him on before. On the stream.
He's an incredible dude.
Yeah, he's
and
dope.
Eunices, people have been sleeping on. She's running a tougher race, but she is incredible in CD1. Really, really great candidate, inspiring person. So if you're in LA, come out and say hi.
Look, this is my favorite type of person. Like, you're already doing a fundraiser, and I have as well, and I've like had him on the stream, and someone immediately goes, "Can you millionaires not donate to them instead?" There's a max out, right?
I'm fucking maxed to both of these people. All right, it's $800. I would donate again if I can. And when they go to the general, by the way, the max resets and you can donate again. But like that, there's a max for a reason, so that like people can't abuse the system. Like, this is what we're like. It's about organizing. Like, we shouldn't just donate a ton of money. We're trying to get you involved. That's fucking organizing. That's how you change things. By going from person to person.
No, he's gonna be like, you're selfish for trying to get me to do it. You should do the election fraud like Dinesh D'Souza, which is pretty funny. I think in this country, if you get busted for fucking donating too much or doing like straw donations to a campaign, like you're a psycho. Like, how do you not have a PAC at that point?
Yeah.
Shouts out to Dinesh. This is one of the dumbest people on the planet.
Was he busted for that?
Yeah, he went to jail for that.
I had no idea. I knew.
Well, no, sorry, he went to jail for being a political enemy of Obama.
Oh,
that's why he went to jail.
I got it. Yeah.
And not for urging his friends to do straw donations to a candidate, a particular candidate who like ended up losing by a lot anyway.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to cheat to organize for a candidate.
Yeah.
You can just email people. I mean, I try to tell people this all the time. The most impactful thing you can do to organize in your community for political shit is just make an email list of as many people as you can, and when pay attention to what's going on in the city. And then when something happens, like email them and say, "Hey, yo, go to this rally," or whatever, or like, you know, do a little like Zoom meeting for a candidate. Like that kind of thing goes so far because no one else does it. And you'll quickly become the sort of person everyone will reach out to you and go, "Yo, who do I vote for? I know you're the only person who follows this." Like, that's organizing. That's how we get shit done. Okay, I'll get off my fucking...
Ask him why he hasn't started a PAC to lift up candidates he supports. Dude, I love that. Thank you. No, that's how... No, dude, it's just like when your brain is permanently melted from like liberal capitalist ideas, you are like, dude, I don't understand. Like, why aren't the Chapo guys getting together with Hassan and like doing the socialism PAC? You know what I mean? Because that's how it's gonna work.
Why don't they have a couple gala dinners?
Yeah, like, you know, why don't you just like buy out Nancy Pelosi? Like she'll be favorable now to fucking setting up workers' councils. Like, I don't understand. That's how it works, right?
No one ever asks, "Hey, why don't you do this?" That person never does the fucking shit themselves.
Yeah.
The people who ask you to do something, who ask me to do something. Like, I have a fucking union meeting after this because I'm on the board of my union where I work with the PAC, and like, that's what I'm doing with the rest of my day. So like when people say that shit, turn it back around on them is what I say.
Yeah.
I know they weren't directing it at me. I'm sorry. I'm not.
They were
trying to be
directing it at
hostile.
me instead.
Yeah.
Why don't you?
I'm matching your energy towards your own chat.
Why don't you
nice
set up
guy.
a PAC? Motherfuckers sit in front of the computer on Twitch stream and criticize people actually doing shit. Yeah, it's never enough. Okay, so, yeah, tell them about the gauntlet. No, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay. Well, I'll never know what it is now.
Okay, no. I don't want to corrupt your brain. Instead, I'm going to corrupt your brain with Dave Rubin believing that a 4-day work week would crush the human spirit. Let's take a look.
Dave Rubin.
I'm on you know, I used to work with him.
I did know that.
Yeah, at the Young Turks.
Yeah.
Brilliant guy. Really captivating.
Yeah.
Let's see what he has to say.
California, is this the way they're going to go? 4 days a week?
Bill, how am I doing in Florida? Fantastic, because I fled California and that sort of over-regulated nonsense that crushes the economy.
Yeah, dude. California's going to pass a 4-day work week, and then at gunpoint, they're going to stop Dave Rubin from filming. They're going to be like, you have to stop. Your show is too good, but you have to stop. Oh, God.
I just imagine him crying every day in Florida that he was dragged down there as part of this like fucking herd to go be in Ron DeSantis's promised land where there's 100% humidity every day.
Yeah.
And like Florida's terrible. I'm sorry. Florida's fine. My dad's from there. I spent a lot of time in Florida.
It's terrible. You don't have to lie about it.
Okay.
It's awful.
You know,
The first place I ever lived in America, and let me tell you, it's fucking terrible.
It's-
some in the water, some in the weather. Everyone turns into a crypto libertarian.
they have
no matter what.
they have the most beautiful wildlife in the world. They've fucking killed all of it. Like the Everglades are on their last legs. Anyway, listen.
Let's see what happens.
Crushes the human spirit, crushes ingenuity. I took 2 businesses out of California in the last year, and although neither one of my companies had 500 employees, that very concept that the government should come in and tell you how much your people should work, and then if they go...
Oh, no. What will like the 5th largest economy do without Dave Rubin's 2 businesses?
Wait, I'm sorry. A man and his husband in their garage left?
Yeah.
Like with a couple GoPros set up? Is that what happened?
Crazy.
Oh,
It's
no.
wild. It's wild when we have like a $80 billion surplus and Dave Rubin left, and that took a big dent. That put a big dent in it. People like Dave Rubin who like literally rely on like big donors from the Republican Party and like PragerU
Yeah.
to give them money.
Yeah, he's being bankrolled by fucking right-wing think tanks, and he's Yeah, fine, whatever.
Go past that threshold, you have to pay them more. Well, you know what? Your people may become less productive so they can start adding hours, or you may just realize you can't hire as many people because you suddenly have to pay them more. This is just it's so in line with the endless nonsense that comes out of California, which, by the way, is why several 100,000 people have fled California since the lockdowns, and Florida and Texas and Tennessee are exploding. And
yeah. Except it's not rich people that are fleeing California, except for Dave Rubin, apparently, which I don't even know if he's a rich. He might be rich, but it's actually middle class people fleeing.
Yeah,
because they can't pay for anything because the housing market is completely fucked. And of course, liberals like gruesome Gavin Newsom and the like are not going to do anything about normalizing the housing market in any meaningful capacity to make sure that there's like even more, maybe even upzoning, okay? Doesn't even matter. Like just more allocations for affordable housing units to be constructed. They're not going to do that. So people can't live here anymore. So they escape to cheaper, states.
Yeah, I mean the people who are fucking up California are the NIMBY right wingers in every city who won't allow new housing to be built. Like if you go. And I know this because I'm like involved again in local politics, and you will meet the weirdest people you will ever meet who do not fit the political categories you think exist. You will meet right-wing Biden Democrats who like they voted for Joe Biden, they hate Trump, but they're right-wingers, they hate people of color, and they don't want any new apartments built because they hate poor people, and they have so much power, and they will scream and yell. And you'll have shit where like literally, I know about this happening in Burbank recently. The state passed a law that said that certain buildings, the cities could not stop them from being built if they had enough affordable housing. So they're trying to build, this developer wants to knock down an old bowling alley nobody uses and build like 200 units of housing with like 10% affordable housing. Should be more, but hey, that's pretty good. We need at least that much built. City of Burbank got so much shit from right-wing people in Burbank that they voted down the housing development, and now the developer is suing the city because it's actually illegal for them to stop it. But like it's like literally these right-wing Biden Democrats who NIMBYs reactionaries who don't want housing built, and that's the fucking side Dave Rubin would be on if he was still in California. That's why housing prices are so high, is because we can't like new housing starts are at an all-time low, and the population is higher than ever. So Dave Rubin is such a sad case because, he used to be a stand-up comic, as I am, and stand-up comics.
Okay, you're being a little ridiculous calling him a stand-up comic.
Have
you ever seen?
I know he was terrible, but he was a comic. And stand-up comics in general, there's a huge trend right now of right-wing comedy drives stand-up comics crazy because these comics do terrible material. They all just do like fucking pro-Trump jokes. They pander to the audience so bad. It's not funny. And people complain about all these dudes. No one complains about Dave Rubin. I've never heard a comic say once, "Oh, Dave Rubin, yeah, sad case. That guy used to be a good comic," because he was terrible.
I don't think people know him as a comedian. That's the reason why. Like, I doubt comedians are like thinking about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the sad thing is nobody thinks about him.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of, ever since his fucking cash cow almost died like multiple times, his career has been on a downtrend. As he like ups the ante and tries to be like, I'm the gay guy, but I'm the Republican, and you can be homophobic to me. Like that's kind of his like shtick. Speaking of comedians, though, I want to talk about a particular stool fucker. Whose show you were on, and I used to be a big fan of Joe Rogan. Sure. I still watch a lot of his. I still watch a lot of his videos, but I wanted to talk to you specifically about being on Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan experience, and like what you got out of that. Because the number one issue, one of the unchangeable issues that Joe Rogan won't budge on is, other than like legalization of marijuana or whatever, is trans athletes, and I feel like it's really just. I think it has had a lasting impact on the way that people cover the story. Yeah. It's like a super adequate, super powerful way to traffic transphobic ideas. Not that people needed that anyway, because like, you could just be as transphobic as you want and people will still give you like hundreds of millions of dollars. Shouts out to Dave Chappelle. So I wanted to get feedback on your experience there, having a conversation with Joe Rogan, specifically around the trans stuff. and the backlash that you received as a consequence of that. And then we'll go
Yeah.
into Bill Maher's new brave, bold,
Yeah.
you know, thought-provoking transphobic bit.
Look, I mean, this was like 3 years ago. He sprung that topic of conversation on me. It was not something that like I think I should be the representative of to talk about. Because I was there, I was like, all right, I mean, I'll go to bat for what I think is right here as best I can. But, you know, when the dude is like locked and loaded with like, you know, Jamie pull that up shit of whatever pseudoscience he wants to bring up, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't the best position to be in. And, you know, honestly, in retrospect, like, you ever seen that clip of Bill Burr on Rogan where Bill Burr goes, you know, Rogan is like,
Talking about masks?
talking about masks and
Yeah.
vaccines, and
He's like,
Burr's
"Why
like,
do you
what the
fucking
fuck are you doing? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the better move. In retrospect, I should have done that. But I was also like, I didn't know we'd be talking about this. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
when I do that, people get mad at me sometimes. Like, there's a lot of like debate lords that are on the internet that are like sock dem or like liberals, and they
Yeah.
get like really upset whenever I have that conversation exactly on those terms where I'm like, why do you fucking care about this? Like, can you tell me who the second place, you know, cis loser was that lost to the trans person in this like random fucking regional swim meet? Like,
Yeah.
no, you can't because you don't give a fuck about it.